Let me ask you a question, and I want you to be honest. Have you ever woken up already tired? Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, even spiritually? Like you're dragging through your days with no energy, no joy, and no clarity? You check every box, meet every deadline, smile through the meetings, but inside, you're running on fumes. That, my friend, is not laziness. It's burnout. And burnout isn't a mystery. It's a consequence. Now here's the truth. You don't beat burnout with a vacation. You beat burnout with a system. Not with less work, but with better structure. Not by checking out, but by tuning in to what matters most. You see, life doesn't get easier. You get stronger. But strength needs a foundation. It needs order. It needs routine. Structure is not the enemy of freedom. It is the source of it. Most people wait until life breaks them before they fix it. But what if you didn't wait? What if this, right now, became your turning point? In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to take back control of your energy, your focus, and your life, one structured habit at a time. So don't just survive another day. Learn how to rebuild your rhythm, reclaim your mind, and finally beat burnout. For good. Let's get to work. Burnout is not weakness. It's a signal without a system. Let's get something straight right from the start. Burnout is not a sign of weakness. It's not laziness. It's not a lack of ambition. It's not because you're not good enough. It's not even because you're doing too much. Burnout happens when you try to run a race without a route. Now let me explain what I mean. You see, life is busy, and the world will tell you to go faster, push harder, say yes to everything, hustle harder, grind more, keep going. But no one ever stops to ask, where are you going? And worse, how are you getting there? Here's the truth most folks miss. It's not the speed that breaks you. It's the lack of structure. Imagine this. You're in a car, foot on the gas, but the wheels are spinning in mud. No traction, just noise, just energy being wasted. That's burnout. You're moving, but you're not advancing. Now here's the principle. Motion doesn't equal progress, and progress without purpose, that's exhausting. People don't burn out because they care too much. They burn out because they never paused long enough to organize what they care about. They give everything to everything, and end up with nothing left for themselves. Let me say it this way. If you don't build a system for your life, burnout will build one for you, and you won't like it. Because burnout builds a life full of hurry, obligation, confusion, and fatigue. A life where you're always behind, always anxious, always wondering if it's all worth it. But let me tell you something. Friend, you can fix this, and know the answer is not hiding from responsibility. It's not dropping everything and moving to the mountains. It's not quitting your job or cutting off your family. The solution is structure. See, I've learned that most people don't need less to do. They need a better way to do it. You don't need to give up on your goals. You just need to install some guardrails. You need a system. Let me give you a little formula. Very simple, very powerful. Energy without structure leads to burnout. Energy with structure leads to breakthroughs. Burnout is a message. It's telling you something's out of order. It's like the check engine light on your car. You don't smash the dashboard. You don't blame the light. You investigate the cause. You adjust the system. So I challenge you. Instead of asking what's wrong with me, ask this instead. Where is my system broken? Do I have a morning routine that gives me clarity? Do I schedule my most important work? Or do I just hope to find time? Do I protect my energy like it's valuable? Or do I give it to the loudest voice every day? Friend, let me tell you what changed my life. I stopped reacting, and I started building a life with intention. Building a calendar that reflected my values. Building boundaries that guarded my peace. Building habits that replenished my soul. That's how you beat burnout. You don't wait for the world to slow down. You build the structure that keeps you steady when the world speeds up. So let me encourage you. No matter how exhausted you feel today, there is a better way. And it doesn't require a miracle. It doesn't require a rescue. It just requires a decision. A decision to stop living by accident and start living by design. Because burnout is not the end. It's the invitation to slow down, not to quit, but to recalibrate, to stop running in circles and start walking with direction. And remember this, burnout is not a character flaw. It's a system flaw. Fix the system and you'll find yourself again. Let's move forward with structure. Let's rebuild with purpose. And let's begin today. Discipline is the foundation, and it feeds your energy. Let's talk about discipline. Now I know what you might be thinking. Discipline, that sounds like hard work. That sounds like restriction. That sounds like sacrifice. But here's the truth, my friend. And it changed my life. Discipline is not a burden. It's a battery. It doesn't drain you. It charges you. It doesn't cage your freedom. It creates it. See, burnout doesn't come from working too hard. Burnout comes from working without order. It's the weight of decisions, distractions, and disorganization that wears you down. But discipline simplifies your life. It removes the noise. It saves you energy. Let me give you a principle. Discipline is the invisible structure that holds your energy in place. Without it, your energy leaks. You lose time. You lose focus. You lose strength. But with discipline, everything changes. Your mornings get sharper. Your mind gets clearer. Your purpose gets stronger. Here's a question for you. When do you feel your best? When do you feel in control? Confident? Calm? It's not during chaos. It's not when you're chasing a dozen things at once. It's when you have a rhythm, a structure, a flow. That's discipline. It's waking up early, not because you have to, but because you want to get ahead. It's planning your day before the day attacks you. It's doing the hard thing first, so the rest of the day feels lighter. It's saying no to what's easy, so you can say yes to what's essential. Now listen, you don't need to be extreme. You just need to be consistent. You don't need to run 10 miles every day, but maybe you do need to walk for 20 minutes. You don't need to read 50 books this year, but maybe you do need to read 10 pages each night. Discipline isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters, on purpose. You want to beat burnout? Then stop negotiating with your purpose. Stop starting over every Monday. Stop living on autopilot and calling it a lifestyle. Instead, build a foundation. One small structured discipline at a time. Wake up with intention. Eat with awareness. Work with focus. Rest with peace. Each habit is like a brick, and those bricks, laid daily, build the fortress that protects your energy. Now, I've been around long enough to see the pattern. People think motivation is the key, but motivation is fleeting. It's like a spark, quick and emotional. Discipline is the firewood. It keeps the fire burning when the spark is gone. So don't wait for motivation. Build a system. Wake up because it's who you are, not because you feel like it. Show up because you made a decision, not because your emotions gave you permission. Discipline is identity, and identity fuels consistency. And consistency protects your energy, like nothing else can. Let me say that again, because it's worth remembering. Discipline protects your energy, and energy is the currency of success. You show me a person who's calm, focused, and fulfilled. I'll show you a person with discipline, not perfection, not rigidity, just consistent, intentional structure. So today, ask yourself, what one habit could I install that would change how I feel tomorrow? What's one area where I've let comfort replace consistency? What's one promise I can keep to myself? Starting now. You don't need a dramatic transformation. You need small structured steps, repeated with discipline. Because burnout doesn't win when you do less. Burnout loses when you live with order. Let your discipline become your foundation. Let it become your shield. Let it become your power. Because when you build a life with discipline, you don't just survive the day, you lead it. If you don't schedule it, stress will. Let me say something that might surprise you. Stress doesn't come from having too much to do. Stress comes from not knowing when you're going to do it. That's the real problem. It's not the mountain that wears you down. It's the fog. It's the confusion. It's the guessing game we play with our time. You see, when you live your life without a schedule, you invite stress to be your time manager. And let me tell you, stress is a terrible manager. It's frantic. It's reactive. It waits until the last minute. It thrives on chaos and feeds on guilt. But there's good news. You can take the job back. All you need is a calendar. Not just to track what's urgent, but to design what's important. Now listen, I meet people all the time who say, Jim, I don't like structure. I like to go with the flow. And I smile and say, that's fine, as long as the flow isn't leading you off a cliff. See, if you don't put your priorities on your calendar, guess what? The world will fill it with its own. Meetings you didn't ask for. Notifications that don't matter. Distractions that feel urgent but steal your time and peace. Here's a principle I've lived by. If it's not scheduled, it's just a wish. You want to exercise more? Schedule it. Want to read daily? Schedule it. Want to build a side business? Improve your health? Spend time with your family? Schedule it. or watch it slowly disappear behind everything else. You don't find time, you make time with a plan. Now, I'm not talking about filling every second with activity. I'm talking about designing a rhythm that works for your life. A rhythm that includes rest, a rhythm that honors your energy, a rhythm that protects your focus. You know what a schedule does? It eliminates the mental clutter. Instead of constantly wondering, what should I be doing right now? You already know. Instead of reacting to every text, every email, every distraction, you're already anchored to your priorities. That's not restriction. That's freedom. Structure doesn't limit you. It liberates you. Now let me give you a practical tip. Something you can start today. Every evening, take just 10 minutes and write down your next day. Not in your head, on paper. Decide ahead of time what's important. Block it out. Protect it like it's sacred. Because it is. You do that one habit, and you will cut your stress in half. Why? Because when the day begins, you're already in control. You're not starting from scratch. You're starting from strength. You're not asking, what should I do? You're declaring, this is what I chose to do. And the difference is everything. So here's my challenge to you. No more open calendars. No more living at the mercy of the day. Take out your planner, your phone, a piece of paper. Doesn't matter. Write down what matters most. And give it a time and a place to live. Because if you don't, stress will. And let me tell you something. Friend, when you own your schedule, you begin to own your life. The mind quiets down. The heart feels lighter. The work becomes focused. And burnout starts to lose its grip. Structure your time, protect your peace, and lead your life. By design, not by default. Let's move on to what's next. Because we're just getting started. Say no with structure, or say yes to exhaustion. Let me give you a life-changing truth. Every yes is also a no. You can't say yes to everything and still live a meaningful life. You can't say yes to every request, every distraction, every demand, and expect to stay energized, focused, and fulfilled. Now here's the problem. Most people don't burn out because they're weak. They burn out because they don't know how or when to say no, so they say yes. Yes to extra work. Yes to last-minute favors. Yes to late-night emails. Yes to things they don't have time for, energy for, or passion for. And do you know what that kind of yes really is? It's a quiet surrender to exhaustion. See, when you live without boundaries, the world will gladly take everything you have. Not because it's evil, but because it's hungry. And if you don't have a structure, a system, for your time, your calendar, your values, you'll end up overwhelmed, overbooked, and over it. Let me tell you, friend, you have to learn how to say no, with structure, with confidence, and with grace. Now, I'm not talking about being rude. I'm not talking about being selfish. I'm talking about being wise. Because saying no doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about what matters most. Here's the principle. If you don't prioritize your life, someone else will. If you don't protect your energy, someone else will spend it for you. If you don't guard your time, someone else will fill it with their agenda. If you don't build a wall around your peace, the world will walk all over it. You need a structure. You need a filter. You need a system that helps you decide, not just react. And that starts with one simple step. Know what you're saying yes to. Because when you know your yes, you can say no without guilt. You can say no without fear. You can say no without explaining yourself to everyone. That's not arrogance. That's clarity. You see, clarity creates boundaries. Boundaries create protection. And protection creates energy. You don't need to say no to everything. Just the things that don't align with your purpose. You don't need to become rigid. Just responsible. You don't need to apologize for honoring your limits. Because your limits are what keep you strong. Here's what I recommend. Create a non-negotiables list. Write down what matters most. Your priorities. Your commitments. Your sacred space. Then schedule around those first. And when something tries to interrupt, you say, I can't say yes to that. I've already said yes to something more important. That's structure. That's discipline. That's leadership. Over your own life. Because burnout doesn't come from doing too little. It comes from saying yes to too much of what doesn't matter. And leaving no room for what does. So let me ask you. Who or what are you saying yes to out of fear or guilt? What would change if you started saying no with strength? Instead of saying yes with resentment, what could you protect? Your energy, your time, your sanity, with just a few clear boundaries. You don't need to be everything to everyone. You don't need to answer every call, respond to every email, or accept every request. You need to honor your structure, and let that structure speak for you. And once you do, you'll feel lighter. You'll feel stronger. You'll feel focused again. Because in the end, saying no is not about rejection. It's about protection. Protecting your purpose. Protecting your pace. Protecting the life you're building. One intentional yes, and one courageous no at a time. Let's keep going. We're just getting started. Rest is a responsibility, not a reward. Now let's clear up a dangerous misunderstanding. Some people believe that rest is a reward. Something you get after you've worked hard. Something you earn only when you've crossed off every item on your to-do list. Let me tell you, friend, that belief is a trap. Because here's what happens. You overwork. You overstretch. You keep saying just a little more. Just one more task. One more hour. And before you know it, your body is worn down. Your mind is foggy. And your motivation is nowhere to be found. That's not productivity. That's poor planning. Rest isn't something you get at the end of your work. Rest is something you schedule at the start. Because it's part of the plan. You don't rest because you're lazy. You rest because you're smart. Because you understand that your energy is your greatest asset. And you guard it like gold. Now let's get this straight. Rest is not weakness. It's wisdom. Rest is what sharpens the axe before the swing. It's what fuels the mind before the decision. It's what restores the heart before the next battle. Most people burn out not because they're doing too much, but because they never pause long enough to recover, reflect, and realign. Let me ask you, when was the last time you rested on purpose? Not because your body collapsed, not because you got sick, not because you hit the wall, but because you planned to. Because it was part of your system. Because you recognize that rest is what makes the work worth it. You see, if you don't plan rest, your body will force it, and you won't like the timing. That's the cost of ignoring rhythm. Nature runs in cycles, and so do we. The seasons change. The tides pull in and out. The heart beats and pauses. The lungs inhale and exhale. There is no high performance without deliberate recovery. Let me give you a principle. Rest is fuel, not failure. When you rest intentionally, you return stronger. Your thoughts are clearer. Your decisions are sharper. Your energy is renewed. You walk into your next task ready, not resentful. You speak with calm instead of chaos. You lead from overflow, not from emptiness. Now here's what I recommend. Build rest into your weekly structure. Like it's a meeting with your future self. Schedule blocks of silence. Turn off the noise for a while. Step away from the screen. Take a walk. Take a nap. Take a breath. Rest is not passive. It's productive. It's what allows you to keep showing up, day after day, with strength and presence. So no more treating rest like it's optional. No more feeling guilty for taking a break. Guilt has no place in rest, because rest is part of the plan. Think of it like this. You wouldn't drive your car until the tank is empty, and then blame the car when it breaks down. No, you stop. You refuel. You check the engine. You invest in its performance. Why should your body, your mind, your soul be treated with any less care? Friend, let me tell you something important. Rest is leadership. It's saying I value my energy so much that I protect it before it runs out. It's not waiting for burnout to hit. It's building a rhythm that makes burnout unnecessary. So from this day forward, shift your mindset. Rest is not the reward for good behavior. It's the responsibility of those who plan to lead, to last, and to live well. Build your rest like you build your schedule. Plan it, protect it, practice it. Because a rested mind is a powerful mind, and a rested heart is a wise one. Let's keep going. You're not just surviving, you're learning how to thrive. Purpose brings power. Structure keeps it focused. Let me tell you something I've learned after years of observing people from all walks of life. Purpose brings power, but structure gives it direction. It's a beautiful thing when a person finds their purpose. It lights them up. They get a spark in their eyes, a strength in their step. Purpose wakes you up in the morning. It whispers, there's something important for you to do. But listen closely now, because here's the danger. Purpose without structure will wear you out. Yes, you heard me, because passion can pull you in many directions. And if you don't build a system to harness it, you'll end up scattered, overwhelmed, and eventually burned out. Let me give you a picture. Purpose is like a powerful river, strong, moving, alive. But without banks, without boundaries, that river floods. It spreads out. It loses momentum. It destroys everything in its path. Structure is what gives that river powerful focus. Purpose is potential. Structure is execution. Together, That's a life that moves mountains. Now let me ask you, have you ever felt fired up about a new idea, but couldn't get it off the ground? Have you ever had big dreams, but no consistent action behind them? That's not a motivation problem. That's a structure problem. You don't need more passion. You need a framework. You need a plan. You need to assign your purpose a place on your calendar. You see, the person who's on fire with purpose but undisciplined in practice, they run hot for a while, and then they crash. But the person who builds a structure around their passion, they don't just flash bright, they shine long. Here's the key. You've got to translate your purpose into process. Don't just say, I want to help people. Ask, when will I help them? How? For how long? With what tools? Don't just say, I want to build something great. Ask, what step can I take today and again tomorrow to make that happen? Purpose fuels the engine. Structure lays the tracks. And when those two are aligned, you start to feel momentum instead of fatigue. You don't burn out when you know what to do next. You burn out when you care deeply, but wander aimlessly. So here's what I recommend. Take your purpose and break it down into a repeatable rhythm. Don't rely on willpower. Don't chase inspiration. Build rituals. Build routines. Build systems. Because a system doesn't care how you feel. It shows up anyway. And when your structure shows up, your purpose stays alive. Let me say it this way. A purpose protected by structure becomes unstoppable. And yes, structure might feel boring to some people, but boredom is better than burnout. And consistency beats chaos. Every time. So what does that look like? If you're a writer, structure time to write, same time. Every day. If you're a leader, structure time to think, plan, and reflect. If you're a parent, structure time to be present. Not just busy. If you're a dreamer, structure your dream into daily, trackable steps. Don't just hope it all fits in. Make it fit, by design. Because if your purpose is worth pursuing, it's worth scheduling. Now here's the final piece. When you structure your purpose, something magical happens. You feel energized, not drained. You feel clear, not confused. You feel aligned, not anxious. That's the reward of structure. That's how purpose becomes real. So ask yourself today, what's my purpose calling me to do? And where have I scheduled that purpose to show up this week? What systems do I need to protect it, fuel it, and follow through on it? Because remember, the power of your purpose is only as strong as the structure behind it. Let's keep going. You're building something extraordinary. Eliminate the non-essential. Simplify to multiply. Let me tell you one of the greatest lessons I ever learned. Not from a billionaire, not from a philosopher, but from life itself. Success is not just about doing more. It's about doing less, better. See, most people are drowning in clutter, not just in their closets, but in their calendars, their commitments, and their thinking, and burnout. It's not always the result of overworking. Often, it's the result of overloading. With too many tasks, too many tabs open, too many priorities fighting for oxygen. Let me put it this way. When everything is important, nothing is. If you want to beat burnout and build something meaningful, you have to do what most people avoid. You've got to simplify. You've got to eliminate. You've got to subtract, not just add. Because here's the truth. Complexity drains. Simplicity energizes. Every time you remove what's unnecessary, you create more space for what is necessary. Every time you say no to the trivial, you say yes to the vital. And in that space, clarity returns. Energy returns. Peace returns. Now I know letting go isn't always easy. We like to hold on to everything. Every project, every invitation, every just-in-case idea. But here's the cost. The more plates you try to spin, the more likely you are to drop the ones that actually matter. So what do? You simplify. You multiply. That means you start asking a powerful question every day about everything. Is this essential? Not is this urgent? Not is someone asking for it? Not will they be upset if I don't? But is this essential to my mission, my energy, my values? Because if it's not essential, it's excess. And excess is expensive. Let me give you a real-life example. You've got a to-do list with 25 things on it. You tackle the easiest first. The low-hanging fruit. The busy work. You cross off a few boxes. But by the end of the day, the most important task is still untouched. That's not productivity. That's procrastination dressed up in activity. But what if you cut that list down to just the top 3 things that move the needle? The core, high-leverage actions that actually create value. Now you're not just moving, you're multiplying. Simplicity is not laziness, it's leverage. And let me tell you, high performers don't do more. They just waste less. They're not busier than you. They're clearer than you. They don't chase, they choose. So how do you get there? You do a clutter audit. Audit your calendar. What meetings don't need to be there? Audit your commitments. What projects aren't aligned with your purpose anymore? Audit your habits. What routines drain you more than they build you? Audit your inputs. What content, conversations, and people are creating noise instead of progress? And once you identify the non-essential, cut it. Don't delay. Don't overthink. Create margin so you can breathe again. Because creativity needs space, energy needs rest, and purpose needs room to grow. Here's a line I want you to remember. Don't add things to your life until you subtract what's in the way. You don't plant seeds in a field full of weeds. You clear the ground. You make space. You simplify. And then you multiply. So let's review. Burnout often comes from too much clutter, not too little capacity. Simplicity restores your focus and your power. Elimination is a tool, not a punishment. Clarity comes not just from starting things, but from stopping the wrong ones. Don't be afraid to let go. Don't be afraid to say no. Because every time you eliminate the non-essential, you double down on what really matters. Simplify, to multiply. Let's move forward. The best is still ahead. Track or trick. You're either measuring or lying. Let me share with you a truth that most people avoid. And it's a hard one. If you're not tracking your life, you're tricking yourself. You're not just behind on progress, you're blind to it. You're telling yourself stories. I'm doing okay. I've been productive. I'm making progress. But when you look closer, nothing's really moving. The truth is, we don't manage what we don't measure. Now I know, tracking doesn't sound exciting. It sounds like numbers, charts, data. But here's what it really is. Tracking is the discipline of truth. It's the mirror that doesn't lie. It's the scoreboard that keeps you honest. It's the structure that brings awareness, and awareness changes everything. You want to beat burnout? Then you need clarity. And clarity only comes through measurement. Let me give you a Jim Rohn principle. What gets measured gets better. What doesn't get measured usually gets worse. If you don't track your time, it disappears. If you don't track your money, it vanishes. If you don't track your habits, they slip. And if you don't track your energy, one day you wake up, exhausted, and you don't even know why. Here's a line worth writing down. The vague leads to fatigue. The specific restores power. Now you don't need a complicated system. You don't need 10 apps and 3 spreadsheets. You just need a pen, a journal, a moment of reflection. Ask yourself each day, how did I spend my time today? What gave me energy and what drained it? Did I move the needle on something meaningful or just stay busy? You track those 3 things and your life will change in 30 days. Because tracking reveals patterns. And once you see the pattern, you can change the pattern. Now let me warn you, the ego won't like this. Because when you start tracking, you start confronting. You confront how often you check your phone. You confront how long your quick breaks really are. You confront how much energy you're spending on things that don't matter. But that confrontation, that's where growth begins. And let me be real with you. Most people would rather feel productive than be productive. They'd rather feel busy than be effective. They'd rather assume things are working than face the numbers that say otherwise. But not you. Not anymore. You're here because you want to take back your life. With structure. And structure is built on feedback. Feedback you can see. Feedback you can adjust. Feedback that fuels improvement. So here's the challenge. Pick one area of your life. Just one. Maybe it's how you spend your morning. Maybe it's your screen time. Maybe it's your top 3 priorities. Start measuring it daily. Not perfectly, but consistently. Because once you start measuring, your awareness grows. And when your awareness grows, so does your discipline. And when your discipline grows, burnout begins to fade. You see, burnout thrives in the dark. It hides in the places we're not watching. But when the light of structure shines on it, it loses power. You don't need to fix everything at once. You just need to start tracking the truth. Because here's the final truth of this chapter. And it's a big one. You're either measuring your life or you're lying about it. Let's choose truth. Let's choose clarity. Let's build with data, not just dreams. Because that's how real progress is made. Let's move on. The best chapters are still ahead. Build a structure of people, not just plans. Let me tell you something that most productivity books forget to mention. You don't just need a plan. You need people. See, we often talk about goals, habits, systems, calendars, and yes, all of those are critical. But there's something even more powerful that determines your progress, your peace, and your ability to beat burnout. And that's your circle. Because I don't care how disciplined you are. If your environment is filled with chaos, conflict, and constant noise, it's only a matter of time before your energy runs dry. You can have the best plan in the world, but if the people around you don't support it, it will collapse. Now don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying you need cheerleaders all day, but I am saying this: your structure must include relationships that fuel you, not just tasks that drain you. Burnout doesn't just come from overwork. It often comes from relational misalignment, from carrying other people's expectations, from saying yes when you want to say no, from being surrounded by people who don't respect your boundaries or your values. Let me give you a Jim Rohn classic. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So take a look. Who's in your circle? Are they building with you or breaking your focus? Are they energizing you or constantly pulling you off track? You see, structure isn't just about how you organize your day. It's about how you guard your environment. And people are the biggest part of that environment. So how do you build a structure of people? Let me show you. First, identify your energizers. These are the folks who speak truth, who encourage your growth, who respect your time and challenge your excuses. You need to schedule time with these people, on purpose. They're not optional, they're essential. Second, set boundaries with your drainers. Now, I'm not saying cut everyone off, but I am saying structure your interactions. Limit the unproductive conversations. Guard your emotional energy, because you're not just managing your time, you're managing your mind. Third, create accountability. Find 1 or 2 people who will check in with you, not to control you, but to support you. Progress multiplies in the presence of accountability. If you're trying to build structure alone, you're making it harder than it has to be. And fourth, become the person you want to attract. Don't just look for disciplined, encouraging, focused people. Be one, because like attracts like. You don't get the network you want, you get the network you build. Let me say that again. The structure of your life will rise or fall based on the people you build it with. So let me ask you, who are the voices that shape your day? Who do you turn to when your energy is low and your vision is blurry? Who challenges you to stay committed to your priorities and walk in integrity? And here's the tough one. Who do you need to limit in order to protect the structure you're building? This isn't about arrogance. It's about stewardship. Your time, your peace, your purpose. They're too valuable to hand over to chaos. You want to beat burnout? Don't isolate. Don't power through alone. Build a circle. Build a system. Build a support structure made of people who help you stay aligned, energized, and focused. Because when your plans fail, and sometimes they will, it's your people who keep you standing. So don't just build a structured day, build a structured environment. And most of all, build a structured community. Because when the foundation shakes, it's your circle that keeps you from falling. Let's finish strong. We're almost there. Make burnout a turning point, not a permanent label. Let me tell you something powerful. Something I wish more people believed. Burnout is not who you are. It's where you are. It's not a label. It's not a lifelong sentence. It's a signal. A cry for change, for alignment, for structure. And the best part, it can be your turning point. Now I know what burnout feels like. Exhausted, but unable to rest. Busy, but not progressing. Waking up with no fuel, and going to bed with no peace. But listen, just because you feel stuck, doesn't mean you are stuck. Just because life got loud, doesn't mean you lost your voice. And just because you've been overwhelmed, doesn't mean you're not still capable of order, of growth, of greatness. Let me remind you of a timeless principle. Every breakdown carries the seed of a breakthrough. If you learn from it, burnout is not your enemy. It's your invitation. It's life telling you, you can't keep doing it this way. It's a message, a warning light, not to quit, but to rebuild. Now, rebuilding isn't complicated, but it is intentional. You rebuild with structure. You rebuild with discipline. You rebuild with purpose. You rebuild with boundaries. And above all, you rebuild with belief. Belief that your energy is worth protecting. Belief that your time is worth managing. Belief that your future is worth designing. You see, burnout thrives in chaos, but chaos can't survive in a life of clarity and order. So what if today, you made the decision, not to escape, not to run, but to pivot, to realign, to let this moment, this chapter of burnout, be the place where everything changes. You don't need a full life overhaul. You need a real plan, with structure. And let me tell you what structure brings. It brings calm to the chaos. It brings focus to the fog. It brings confidence where fear used to live. With structure, you begin to feel control again. With structure, you get traction. And with traction, you start to move. You don't just wake up and hope, you wake up and act. You don't just wish for balance, you build it. One block, one system, one habit at a time. So what's the takeaway? Burnout is real, yes, but it's not your end. It's your opening. The doorway to a better designed life. You've got to shift the question from why am I so tired to what is my life missing in structure, order, clarity, and purpose. Because once you ask the right questions, the answers begin to change everything. Now let me say this directly. From me to you, you're not lazy. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're just one structure away from your comeback. So make the decision. Let this burnout, this season, be the thing that wakes you up, not the thing that takes you out. Turn the page, refuse the label, build the structure, and step into the life that's waiting for you. Organized, energized, focused, and full. Because when you use burnout as a turning point, you don't just survive, you rise.